Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to be you? Not because your life is uniquely tragic, and not because you don't have things to be grateful for, you do, but because there is an invisible, silent machine running in the back of your mind 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, calculating exactly how much space you are allowed to take up in a room. You wake up, and before your feet even touch the floor, the machine starts its calculations. It measures the tone of an email you received yesterday. It dissects the exact micro-expression a coworker made when you walked past their desk. It replays a conversation from 3 years ago, highlighting the exact moment your voice shook, just to remind you of what you are trying so desperately to hide. This is the hidden tax of the human experience. It is a quiet, suffocating weight that you carry so smoothly, so elegantly, that the people around you think you are completely fine. In fact, they probably think you have it all together. They might even envy you. And that is the ultimate paradox. The world looks at your achievements, your hyper-reliability, your perfectionism, or maybe your quiet, gentle kindness, and they see strength. They see someone who is composed, driven, and self-sufficient. But you know the truth. You know that every single one of those beautiful traits is actually a shield. It is a highly sophisticated defense mechanism designed to protect a deeply buried, fragile secret, the terrifying belief that if people saw who you truly are, stripped of your accomplishments, your usefulness, and your mask, they would walk away. This isn't just low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is a bad day or a temporary lack of confidence. What you are dealing with is something much older, much deeper, and far more dangerous. It is a secret battle with inferiority. It is an internal script written long ago that whispers that you are fundamentally flawed. Not that you made a mistake, but that you are a mistake. Over the next 30 minutes, we are going to do something uncomfortable. We are going to shine a light directly into the darkest corners of that internal machine. We are going to look at the 4 hidden signs that someone, perhaps you, perhaps someone you love deeply, is secretly battling this profound sense of inadequacy. But before we begin, I need to ask you 2 questions. Don't answer them for me. Answer them for the version of you that sits alone in the dark when the world is asleep. First, who would you be if you stopped trying to prove your worth to people who aren't even paying attention? And second, if your presence in this world is truly as insignificant as your mind tells you it is, why does it require so much energy just to survive it? Hold on to those questions. We will come back to them soon. But first, let's talk about how you got here. Let's look at the psychology of why your brain decided that feeling small was the safest way to stay alive. To understand why a human being would secretly carry the weight of inferiority, we have to understand that the human brain does not care about your happiness. It cares about your survival. When you are young, your brain is like wet cement. Every look, every sigh from a parent, every moment of abandonment, and every unrealistic expectation stamps itself into that cement. If you grew up in an environment where love was conditional, where you were only praised when you achieved, or where you were ignored unless you were perfectly behaved, your brain had to make a choice. Psychologists call this the development of the false self. In psychoanalytic theory, particularly the work of D.W. Winnicott, the false self is a psychological facade constructed to please others and protect the vulnerable true essence of who you are from being rejected. If your true self, with all its messy emotions, mistakes, and needs, was met with coldness or anger,
your brain realized that being you was dangerous. So it built a counterfeit version. It built a version that was smarter, quieter, more helpful, or completely self-reliant. But this creates a devastating neurological phenomenon known as cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the mental discomfort that happens when you hold two contradictory beliefs at the same time. On the outside, you are performing perfectly. You are getting the grades, winning the promotions, helping everyone around you. But on the inside, the core belief remains: I am not enough. Therefore, every piece of praise you receive doesn't make you feel better. It makes you feel like a fraud. Your brain registers compliments not as validation, but as evidence that your mask is working. You think if they only knew how weak, lazy, or broken I actually am, they wouldn't be saying that. Let's look at this through the lens of modern neuroscience. When you live with a chronic sense of inferiority, your nervous system is trapped in a permanent low-grade hyperarousal state. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, is constantly scanning your social environment for threats of rejection. To your nervous system, a critical comment from a boss or a delayed text message from a partner is not just an inconvenience, it is a life or death emergency. It mimics the ancient threat of being exiled from the tribe, which meant certain death. To cope with this constant state of threat, your brain employs a concept called compensation, first coined by the psychologist Alfred Adler. Adler argued that every human experience begins with a feeling of inferiority, because as children we are completely helpless. However, when that feeling becomes pathological, we develop an inferiority complex. To survive it, we unconsciously swing to the exact opposite extreme. We overcompensate. Here is the pattern interrupt your mind doesn't see coming. Your perfectionism is not an ambition. Your hyper-independence is not a strength. They are trauma responses. They are the desperate strategies of an endangered nervous system trying to control its environment so perfectly that it can never be hurt, criticized, or abandoned again. You aren't striving for excellence because you love the climb. You are climbing because you are terrified of what will happen to you if you fall to the ground where everyone else can see you.
But let us stop looking at the textbooks. Let us look at your life. What does it actually cost to live this way? It costs you everything. It costs you the ability to rest. Have you ever noticed that when you finally get a free weekend or an evening with absolutely nothing to do, you can't actually enjoy it? A strange, toxic anxiety creeps in. A voice starts telling you that you are wasting time, that you are falling behind, that you should be working, cleaning, learning, or optimizing. This happens because to a mind battling inferiority, idleness feels like vulnerability. If you are not actively producing value, you believe you have no value. You have traded your human being for a human doing. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote about the tragedy of human existence, stating that life swings like a pendulum, backward and forward, between pain and boredom. But for the person who feels secretly inferior, the pendulum swings between exhaustion and worthlessness. You run until you collapse from burnout, and the moment you pause to catch your breath, the guilt rushes in to drag you back to work. Think about the sheer crushing weight of the identity conflict you carry every single day. There are two of you. There is the person you present to the world, the dependable friend who always answers the phone, the employee who never says no, the partner who anticipates everyone else's needs before they even arise. And then there is the person who lives behind your eyes, the person who feels incredibly lonely even in a crowded room,
the person who feels like an imposter in their own life, the person who watches everyone else laugh, connect, and exist effortlessly, wondering, what is the secret code to happiness that everyone else received at birth, but somehow I missed? You have become a ghost haunting your own existence. You spend so much energy managing other people's perceptions of you that you have forgotten who you actually are when nobody is watching. You have sacrificed your authenticity on the altar of safety. And the most heartbreaking part? You did it to yourself to survive. You became your own jailer, thinking that if you punished yourself harshly enough inside your own head, the outside world wouldn't be able to hurt you as badly. But the punishment never ends. The trial keeps going, day after day, year after year, with you acting as the prosecutor, the judge, and the condemned prisoner, all at once. Let us break down exactly how this internal trial manifests in your daily life. These are the 4 hidden signs that someone is secretly battling inferiority. Look closely. Mirror these patterns against your own behavior. Sign 1. Chronic hypervigilance cloaked as empathy. You pride yourself on being incredibly intuitive. You can walk into a room and instantly read the temperature. You know exactly when your partner is annoyed, even if they say they aren't. You can spot the slightest shift in a friend's voice over a phone call. People call you an empath. They tell you it's a gift. But let's be honest, it doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like a curse, because you aren't reading the room out of love. You are reading the room out of a desperate need to predict conflict before it happens. You became someone who monitors everyone else's emotional states because in your past, an adult's sudden anger or sudden withdrawal meant danger. If someone is quiet, your brain immediately assumes, it's because of me. What did I do wrong? How do I fix it? You take responsibility for weather patterns you didn't create. You apologize for things that aren't your fault. You have blurred the boundary between your emotions and the emotions of the world, leaving you utterly exhausted by the mere presence of other people. Sign 2. The deflection of good fortune. When was the last time you truly took a compliment? When someone says you did an incredible job on that project, what do? Do you say thank you and let it warm you? No, you immediately deflect it. You say, oh, it was nothing, I got lucky. Or, well, anyone could have done it. Or you immediately point out a tiny flaw that nobody else noticed just to lower their expectations. You treat good fortune and praise like a hot potato. You want to drop it as fast as humanly possible. Why? Because acceptance feels dangerous. If you accept that you did something great, you raise the bar. And if you raise the bar, your mind tells you that the next time you fail, the fall will be catastrophic. By keeping yourself low, by minimizing your wins, you ensure that no one can ever drop you. You drop yourself first. Sign 3. Predictable self-sabotage at the edge of success. This is perhaps the most painful pattern of all. You are highly capable. You have brilliant ideas, deep passions, and moments of intense inspiration. But notice what happens when you get close to the finish line, when that promotion is within reach, when a healthy relationship starts to become serious, when a creative project is 90% complete, you freeze, or worse, you burn it down. You pick a fight with the person who loves you. You miss the deadline. You suddenly lose all motivation and distract yourself with trivial things. To the outside world, it looks like laziness or a lack of discipline. But under the psychological microscope, it is something entirely different. It is the comfort of the known defeat. To your unconscious mind, failure is a safe, familiar home. You know how to survive disappointment. You've done it your whole life. But success, true belonging, being seen and loved, that is uncharted territory. That requires you to believe you deserve it. And because the inferiority script says you don't, your brain sabotages the opportunity to prevent the unimaginable pain of winning something, only to realize you aren't enough to keep it. Sign 4. Extreme boundary erasure wrapped in usefulness. You have become the person who is always there. You are the one people call when they need a favor, a ride to the airport, a listening ear at midnight, or a problem solved. You never say no. Even when you are exhausted, sick, or drowning in your own responsibilities, you say yes. You tell yourself it's because you are a good person, a loyal friend. But let us peel back the layer of social politeness. You don't say yes because you want to help. You say yes because you are terrified that if you become inconvenient, you will become irrelevant. You have built relationships based entirely on your utility. You believe deep down that people do not love you for who you are. They love you for what you can do for them. Therefore, setting a boundary, saying, "No, I can't help you this time," feels like signing the death warrant of the relationship. You allow people to overstep, to treat you like an afterthought, because you believe that an afterthought is the best someone like you can ever hope to be.
If you saw yourself in those 4 patterns, I want you to take a deep, long breath. Right now, drop your shoulders away from your ears, unclench your jaw, take your hands off your chest. You are not broken. You are not fundamentally flawed. You are simply a person who learned how to survive a world that didn't know how to mirror your worth back to you. Everything we just talked about, the hypervigilance, the perfectionism, the self-sabotage, the boundary erasure, these were not character defects. They were brilliant, creative adaptations designed by a young mind to keep you safe in an environment where you felt unprotected. But here is the beautiful, terrifying truth. The environment has changed, but you are still using the old survival guide. You are no longer that helpless child. You are no longer at the mercy of people who cannot see you. The war is over, but you are still walking around in 50 pounds of heavy rusted iron armor, wondering why it's so hard to breathe. It is time to take the armor off. Healing from a deeply rooted sense of inferiority does not happen by overnight affirmations or pretending you love yourself in the mirror when you don't. It happens through a slow, deliberate process of neurological restructuring and emotional reclamation. First, you must move from unconscious reaction to conscious awareness. The next time you feel the urge to apologize when you haven't done anything wrong, or the next time you want to stay up until 2 a.m. perfecting a document that is already good enough, stop. Notice the physical sensation in your body. It will usually feel like a tightness in your chest or a pit in your stomach. Acknowledge it. Say to yourself internally, "This is my old fear of rejection, trying to protect me. Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I am not in danger right now." By naming the pattern, you detach from it. You are no longer the fear. You are the awareness observing the fear. Second, you must begin the radical work of reparenting your inner child. When that cruel internal voice starts telling you that you are a failure or that you are an imposter, ask yourself, whose voice is that? Is it really yours? Or is it the voice of a critical parent,
a cruel teacher, or a society that profits off your self-doubt. The famous psychologist Carl Jung once remarked, "The most damaging thing in the life of a child is the unlived life of the parent." Often, the heavy sense of inferiority you carry isn't even yours. It is a legacy of shame passed down through generations, handed to you by people who were too weak to carry it themselves. You do not have to carry their luggage anymore. You can set it down at the station and walk away. Third, you must practice the art of inconvenience. If you want to know who truly loves you, start setting small, gentle boundaries. Say no to an invitation you don't have the energy for. Allow your response to a text message to take a few hours instead of a few seconds. Let yourself be imperfect in front of someone else. Yes, it will feel terrifying at first. Your nervous system will scream that you are ruining everything, but watch what happens. The people who truly belong in your life will not leave because you became human. They will adopt. They will respect you more. And the people who do leave, they were never loving you anyway. They were just loving your compliance. Let them go.
We started this journey with a question. Who would you be if you stopped trying to prove your worth to people who aren't even paying attention? The answer is simple, yet monumental. You would be free. You would realize that you do not need to earn your place on this planet through endless production, flawless behavior, or constant sacrifice. You do not look at a forest and judge a tree for being bent or a mountain for having jagged edges. You accept them as beautiful simply because they exist. It is time to extend that same grace to yourself. You are not a project to be fixed. You are a human being to be discovered. The painted armor you built served its purpose. It kept you alive, but you don't just need to survive anymore. You are allowed to live. If you watched this video and felt an uncomfortable, familiar ache in your chest, if you recognized yourself in the shadows we uncovered today, understand that you are not alone in this dark room. There are millions of people standing right next to you, wearing the exact same armor, hiding the exact same secret. Don't subscribe to this channel for an algorithm. Don't leave a comment to please me. Instead, take this video and send it to one person. Send it to that friend who always seems to have it all together, the one who never asks for help, the one who is always taking care of everyone else but forgets to take care of themselves. Send it to someone who feels this crushing weight every single day but has never found the words to explain it. Let them know that you see them, the real them, and that they can finally take the armor off.